Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is attempting a political comeback. The Democrat entered the race to become New York City mayor over the weekend. Cuomo resigned as governor in 2021 following a series of sexual harassment allegations, which he denies. He spoke Sunday about why he's running.
We're here today for one reason. We are here because we love New York and we know New York City is in trouble. You can feel it. You don't need to read statistics.
I want to bring in managing editor at USA Today, Terry Moseley, to talk more about this. Terry, it's great to see you. So, as you know, the governor resigned in scandal. It struck me, even in the wake of his resignation, that there was still fairly strong support for Governor Cuomo. So the question, of course, becomes, has enough time passed for people to sort of give him this opportunity, this second opportunity at public service, or are there going to be enough people who are going to say, look, these allegations were serious, and I don't like the idea of having a mayor who's been accused of sexual harassment?
Next week marks 5 years since Cuomo had to shut down New York City. And the city and the rest of the nation, as you recall, basically watched as the governor every day have a press briefing and try to calm the nerves. So will they completely negate the past? No, but I do believe that most voters will remember the Cuomo of the COVID era that allowed a peaceful, informative time.
The other thing that's sort of interesting about this, Terry, is that he seems to be, although he is a Democrat, he is not running as a Democrat left of center. He seems to be running as a moderate. And so I wonder how that's going to play in New York City. And the other question that I have is the primary, because maybe people don't realize, but in New York, if you have to be registered as a Democrat to vote in the primary. And I wonder if those voters, independents, I can see wanting to vote for Andrew Cuomo in the general. But if you're talking about just Democrats, do you think he can win the primary?
Yes, I do think he has a distinct chance of winning the primary. If you take a look at the voting bloc between Cuomo and Eric Adams, who would be his main opponent, I believe, at this point, there are 3 voter blocks that are very important. One of them is Latino votes, the other one is the Black votes, and the third is the Orthodox. And both Eric Adams and Cuomo share those constituencies. So I think that there is a distinct chance, and he has a lot to prove, but Cuomo is certainly not out.
And it's not also as if the current mayor of New York City does not have baggage. In addition to his legal challenges that he's facing, he's also perceived by many now to be essentially in the hip pocket of the president of the United States, given that they've asked the Southern District to remove the charges that were filed against Eric Adams. And so I wonder how that plays into it. New Yorkers thinking to themselves, well, at least if Andrew Cuomo is mayor, he's not had the greatest track record with the president in terms of the president doesn't like him, doesn't like Governor Cuomo. So I wonder if New Yorkers will feel that at least Cuomo will be able to stand up to President Trump, which is something that they don't believe Eric Adams can do now.
Yes. Ultimately, Cuomo and Trump, they're both Queens boys, right? They grew up in New York City. They have known each other for decades. And Trump even donated to Cuomo's campaign and to his father's campaign. He's known him for quite some time. And we also saw during COVID that he was able to go toe-to-toe with Trump. There is a certain, I'll say, a New York level of respect. So it's not be all to end all, but there's something that resonates with New York voters. And I really do believe that they view that Cuomo is one of the few that can go toe-to-toe with the president.
All right. Terry Moseley, thank you very much for your analysis and perspective. We appreciate it.
Thank you.